Hello and welcome to another Mother Colored Yellow. I am your host Kato, and today we have an episode titled Squint as I Tremble. The history, a brief history, of Pompeius Strabo. Who is this enigmatic figure? Well, he's no other than the father of Pompey the Great, Pompeius Strabo of the Clastomenian tribe. While he was not as popular as Pompey, Strabo was a great and instrumental general during his life. He operated in Labian northern Picenum, which sits in northern Italy, and was the first of the Pompey branch to earn the status of senator. He managed to earn this despite the senatorial prejudice towards rural provincials. This further accentuates what a skillful military commander he was. Strabo passed the cursus honorum and began his career as a quaestor in Sardinia in 104 BCE, then as promagister in Sicily in 93, praetor in 92, and governor of Macedonia. During the year 90 BCE, at the start of the war against the Allies, also known as the Social War, he fought as a legate for Consul Rutilius Rufus. During this year, he was beaten by Bidaculus, Titus Lafrenius, and Publius Bedius in the battle near Mount Falernus. Strabo retreated to Fernum, where he was then besieged by Lafrenius. Strabo sallied out when he was informed of an approaching army. Strabo was not aware if this army was an ally or enemy, or even cared, as Strabo alongside with Publius Sulpicius Rufus destroyed the besieging army. Strabo risked his life and that of his men because he was afraid of losing glory if the approaching army was a friend, and wanted to die in glory if he happened to be the enemy. His actions mark him as one of the most consequential generals of the Social. Strabo became consul in 89, in which he served alongside Porcius Cato, who would fall fighting the Marks, making Strabo the sole consul for the remainder of the year, and possibly for the remainder of the war, as it was not clear if the war ended in 89 or 88. Strabo was indispensable in the northern theater of the war, which reached its apex with the siege of Ascalon, of which there is some debate of whom was in charge of the siege. In any case, Strabo was believed to have played a significant role, which put an end to the war, and earned him a triumph. Side note, Bidaculus is mentioned to have led a relief force to Ascalon and managed to make his way into the city, where he realized it was hopeless to win the war and committed suicide. After his consulship, Strabo returned to his army as a proconsul. Cicero, the great lawyer and orator, a man who was so instrumental in the end of the Republic, served with Strabo during the war. He would later praise Strabo's skills in dealing with the Italians. Strabo, being generous, rewarded his non-citizen allies with Roman citizenship. Side note, he would notably grant citizenship to a cavalry squadron from Hispania. Strabo passed a law to extend his influence from Picenum to lands past the Po Valley, and gave land status to towns in Transalpine Gaul. After the Social War, Strabo continued his political ambitions by attempting to secure a second consecutive council, using the example set by Marius. In this, he would fail. During the turbulent times in which Sulla and Marius wrestled for the Republic, Strabo would stay in the silence, only to emerge once the matter was settled. Sulla will emerge victorious, and Strabo would squint menacing. Sulla introduced a law to recall Strabo to Rome, but Strabo had an inside man, Herennius, who vetoed the measure. After this, the consul Pompeius Rufus was elected to take Strabo's command. When Rufus arrived in camp, Strabo welcomed him and showed him every courtesy. Rufus, feeling comfortable, went on to make the usual sacrifices, at which point Strabo left the scene, and his troops fell upon Rufus. After this incident, Strabo retained his command, and Sulla left for Mithridates in the east. When Marius and the exiled Cinna arrived in Italy, Octavian, who was the consul at this time, and who had been the man who exiled Cinna, opposed him alongside the Optimates. Strabo simply waited on the sidelines. For this, he would be blamed and hated, for he gave Cinna and Marius time to gain strength and challenge the status quo. Strabo, after being begged by the Senate to come to Rome's aid, finally acted. It was rumored that Cinna had bribed Terentius to kill Strabo and his young son, Pompey, as his tent was set on fire. This scheme, however, failed. Strabo fought Suetonius and assisted Octavian when Marius took the Janiculum Gate, and victory was almost achieved, but Strabo's desire for glory prevented it, as he was afraid if the war ended early, he would not be able to run for a second consulship. Again, he was hated, and rumors were spread that Strabo started secret negotiations with Cinna, but pursuing the Senate to hear Cinna's envoys. Believing that the most likely candidate to win the consulship for 86 was Metellus Pius would lead to his prosecution, a rumor began to spread that Strabo was planning to kill Metellus. No matter what Strabo was planning, he would later die before his plans were to take effect, as plague ravaged his camp, and he fell ill. Cassius announced to take his command, and this news gave Strabo the strength to linger on for a couple of days, before finally dying. While in more popular stories told of lightning having struck him as to signal that even the gods hated him, this story is false, and nothing more than second-hand gossip. During his funeral processions, his body was taken and dragged through the mud on a hook, and it took the tribunes and senators to restore order, as they threw their cloaks over his body and began to cry and plead with the mob. This would mark the end of Strabo. Side note, Marius would claim Rome, achieving his 7th consul that was prophesied, and would die soon after, leaving Cinna alone to control Rome and oppose Sulla as he was coming from the east. Unfortunately for Cinna, he would die before any battle could take place at the hands of his own men, and Sulla would obtain a 10-year dictatorship. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I've been your host, Kato. Until next time, Kato out.